from Amy that I really like, Amy, conflict expert. Definitely worth a follow because she is just very practical and pragmatic, as well as being very intelligent. So she says that you can ask for what you need and get what you want while still being yourself. And so the point here, I think, with assertiveness is how you get what you need, but you don't feel like you're having to try and be someone else to do it. Like you keep the best things of you, but you also protect the things that you want to do. I think it's that sort of balance that we're trying to get to. And on the podcast, we talk about the I'm okay, you're okay model. Did anyone listen to that? I thought it's one of those models where you could probably twist yourself in knots and you're like, hang on, is that bit the I'm okay, you're okay bit? I'll try and explain it now because I've not got the visual. I've not got the visual in front of me, which is the thing that helps to make it make sense. But the idea here is you want, when you are being assertive, you want to be in a position where we are having a dialogue. So let's imagine the hybrid working thing, right? Let's imagine you're my manager. I've been working at home for a bit. Actually, I quite like that because my commute's a bit of pain. I live in Oxfordshire. I don't want to come into the office 5 days a week just because that's the way we used to do it. So I want to protect the things that are important to me, but I'm also trying to understand where you're coming from. So assertiveness would be, I'm okay. So I'm talking about the things that are important to me. I've got that clarity and I'm communicating with confidence, but you're okay. So you know that I have heard why you want the team to work in a different way and what your perspective is. So you feel heard by me. I've been respectful towards you, but I've also held on to what's important to me. That is assertiveness. I'm okay, you're okay. And I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because you're like, but I still want the things that I want. So just to be clear, I'm okay because I still want the things that I want. But I think the you're okay is that you don't feel that I'm just forcing it through. I'm pushing, you still feel that I've heard and understood you. And I was thinking about some alliteration, everyone. So the B here, they all begin with B, balance. This is about balance. It's a balanced conversation, but I am being confident and clear about what's important to me. The opposite is aggression. I'm okay, you're not okay. This is the way I want to work. I don't really care about the rest of the team. This has worked for me for the last 2 years, so that's what's going to happen now. And this is much more like a battle. This is my second B for you. So the one with balance, this is more like a battle. I'm going to battle you to get what I want. And that's going to create all kinds of issues. You're going to get quite defensive. This is going to be quite a destructive conversation. I might win this one, but I might not win the next one. That's the kind of issue with this sort of approach. There is the passive approach, which is much more about when we are hang on, I've got it written down here. I feel really sad that I can't share my screen with you. The passive approach is where you're okay, but I'm not okay. So I'm like, I know what works for me, but you've decided you want the team to work in a certain way. And I just sort of acquiesce and go, okay, I'm not really going to win this fight. What's the point of me arguing? We always do it the way you want to do it anyway. And the B here is boundaryless. So I basically might have had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I've blurred my boundaries so much. And I think if you spend your career being passive, you are spending your career blurring your boundaries. It is going to create all kinds of issues for you at work. And you're going to be unhappy, stretched and stressed. So this is not a good approach. And I think working out when we might be behaving passively and why is an important reflection. Is it like transactional analysis? Oh, Leon, I love that you brought that in there. Parent, adult, child. Yeah, I think it could be. So if people don't know about the parent, adult, child thing, it's something I often think about in the relationships between people and their managers. So when you, and also managers and the people that work for them. So sometimes when we're at work, we can put ourselves into child mode and the manager's like the parent. And we're like, what do you think I should do? Where should I go? Validate me, give me some feedback. I'm very in need of your love. I mean, that's basically what we're superimposing onto our work. And we become quite dependent on them for their development. We don't necessarily build a community around our career because they are the be all and end all, a bit like it is with parents and childs. But managers can also put themselves into parent position. I have done this. And maybe I make people purposely passive and it isn't my intention, but I'm like, I just want to be here for you. I want to help you. Anything you need, let me know. And I kind of become this I superimpose a parent figure because I think I'm looking for validation. So it is interesting. Obviously, you want adult to adult, which to your point, Leon, is the balance, right? That's why it's balanced. It's adult to adult. So yeah, interesting with the overlays there with the transactional analysis. And then the other one is the passive, passive aggressive. which is where I thought about this one's more like we're bottling. So you've got kind of balance and battle. You've got this is one I always keep forgetting. You've got the boundaryless, and then you've got the bottling. So the passive aggressive is more like, I think this, I also thought about this as a bit like being a bit bitchy was the other one, but I thought I can't put that on a pod sheet. But this is where you're in a room and you're kind of going, yeah, I mean, it's a good idea. Yeah. And then out of the room, you're like, that is horrendous. They never think their ideas through. And you're like bottling up this emotion, and you either let it out quite destructively in like a gossipy, bitchy, quite undermining way, or you just bottle it up in yourself and you build quite a lot of frustration. I wanted to ask you, I was going to get you to vote on the screen, but we won't do that because it's not working at the moment. But which one of those zones do you think you are spending the most time in at the moment? So maybe just type it. So do you think you are being assertive? Do you think you are like being aggressive? So are you can aggressive, assertive, passive, or passive aggressive? Just give us a bit of a sense, as honest as you can. Which one of those zones do you think you spend time in at the moment? Interesting on the passive, really interesting. Good to know. So that's us being boundaryless. Yeah, Jennifer, depends on who it with. I think that is also a good insight, isn't it? If you thought about the 5 people that you spend the most time with at work, and which of those zones do you spend time in with them? And that's an interesting, you might go, oh, it's those 5 people, it's all passive and not great. Or I might say, well, with Sarah, it's quite assertive. And then but with everyone else, it's quite passive. So what is different about the conversations I have with Sarah than the other people I have within my team? Probably a good point of reflection. I would do that actually, to just think about those 5 people in the different ways that you so the interesting on the variables here depends how invested you are in the topic. Interesting. Okay, so massive passive aggressive. But I think important, just to be honest, important to know. Me personally, I flit between being assertive, relatively assertive, but also quite passive, mainly because I want to move things on, and I'm like, oh, fine, I'll just go along with it to get it done, which obviously is not the right thing to do. Whereas Sarah can sometimes be passive because she wants to avoid conflict. So again, important to know what you do, but also why you do it. I think there's a good point of reflection there. What at the moment gets in the way of you being more assertive? So if assertiveness is, you having that I'm okay, you're okay, respect for other people's opinions, but you stay true to what's important to you, you're protecting those boundaries. What gets in the way at the moment? Just head into chat and let me know what is getting in the way of you being assertive. You know the sense. Perception of other people. So like the kind of is that sort of the worry that other people might think your assertiveness is aggressiveness? That's interesting, isn't it? It's an interesting past experiences, new to role, confidence. Yeah. And out of interest, if you think about someone in your head now that you work with that you think is an assertive person, like, so think about someone that you work with and you're like, they come across with assertiveness, like we can call it, kind of imagine that person. If you were going to use one other word to describe their approach, so hopefully you've got that person in your mind that's an assertive person. So I'm thinking Sarah, like Sarah's quite assertive. One other word to describe them and their approach, what would that word be? Okay, so they are assertive and ... confident, clear, deliberate, fair, direct, they don't flex, effective, clear, calm, compassionate. So the reason I wanted you just to do that point of reflection is because I think only one of those comments was a bit like, was probably not positive. I think they don't flex, so I've given up. Like that's probably not good. But everyone else, I would say, neutral to and / positive, direct, stands by their beliefs, clear, calm. And so the reason I asked you was, so if we fall into a trap of thinking if we are being assertive, other people might think we are being aggressive, then actually that first person that you put in your mind, you're associating them with some other positive characteristics, like the first thing. So their assertiveness isn't resulting in you going, oh, they're arrogant, oh, they're dismissive, oh, they're overly directive. You're saying, effective, clear, calm, compassionate, assertive, thorough. So I think it's just worth the assumptions that you make when you work with an assertive person, rather than thinking about negative associations that someone might have when you're assertive, if that makes sense. Worth kind of keeping that in mind. Also, I think if you're going to build your brand, thinking, I want to come across as assertive and clear, I want to come across as assertive and confident, and the more positively you can frame this in your mind, the more likely you are to take action. So let me go back to some of the other things that you said there. So a lack of confidence. It feels like, can you please reshare the quote for the definition? Anya, yeah, of course I can. It's not really a definition. It's more of a, so the definition that we have is assertiveness is I'm okay, you're okay. So it's the idea of balance. The quote that I mentioned from Amy Gallo was, you can ask for what you need and get what you want while still being yourself. I actually shared it on LinkedIn yesterday. So if you want to screenshot some there, it's on the pod sheet as well that you can get, which is on Instagram. So I think the main challenges seem to be confidence and either kind of confidence in yourself, but also a fear of how you might be perceived, which I would say we probably need to pair assertiveness with working on caging our confidence gremlins. Because if you've got a confidence gremlin about not, for example, one of my confidence gremlins is needing to be liked at work. So I have a fear that if I'm too direct, if I'm too challenging, people won't like me. If they don't like me, I won't be successful. And so that stops me speaking up. It stops me clearly stating my views sometimes. And that is a confidence gremlin, and it's going to undermine my assertiveness. So I think if you feel that confidence might be the barrier to you putting some of this stuff in action, I would have a look at the Confidence Gremlin ebook that we've got for free on our website. I would re-listen to some of the episodes on confidence that we've got on the podcast as well. It's the pretty much the first episode, so bear with, because we're early days, it was a bit scripted. Now it's a little bit more informal. Okay, so that's what gets in the way. Second question for you: what would be even better if, so in your career, if you suddenly, I don't know, 10x your assertiveness, like you caged your confidence gremlins, you are having like the most assertive week of your life at work, what would be even better if, like, what would be better because of it? Well, how would your work be better? How would your career be better? Now, the reason I'm asking you this is I kind of want you to clue into the motivation to do something different. So what would be better specifically? It's not just I protect my boundaries, it's I would leave work on time, I wouldn't do work I don't do work in the evening, I'd do my exercise. Like, what would it be? I'd be able to sleep. I mean, yeah, pretty important. Nothing left unsaid. Oh, can you imagine working in a place so transparent where nothing is left unsaid? Feeling less stressed, shorter hours, being a better ally. Yeah. Projects would move forward. I'd be healthier, less stressed, doing a job that fills my strengths and interests. I mean, these are big things, right? Like getting more sleep, that's going to make you live longer. So truth, you're going to be more stressed, be happier. I mean, these are really big things. This isn't just like I'd get better feedback. This is sort of I'd have a better life. Like 90,000 hours of our life we spend at work. So if there's a skill that you can invest in that helps you achieve some of the things that you're talking about here, I'm like, that surely it goes up in our to-do list. This is way more about managing our reaction to hybrid work policies. This is about you and your life, like based on the stuff that you're sharing with me. I think that it is worth you writing down what would be your, what would be your even better if, like in your life or in your career, if you increased your assertiveness, what would be even better because of it? Because I think if you can see that, it will give you the motivation to do something different, which is what we're trying to clue into. Because particularly if you're trying to cage your confidence gremlin at the same time, it's not going to be easy. If you're quite passive today because you don't like conflict, or because like me, you're like, I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to let it go because I want to get some other stuff done. It's quite difficult to press pause and say, I'm going to do something different. But if you can get the motivation in what you're sharing here, like I'd have time to flourish in other areas of my life. I mean, just write flourish on a giant post-it note and stick it on your laptop, and look at that every time you kind of feel, you feel like you're compromising yourself, which is what you're doing when we're not being assertive. So I've got a couple of ideas that I wanted to share with you, but I just wanted to see as a community whether there is anything that you have heard or anything that you've put into place that has helped you to increase your assertiveness. So could you just pop into chat for me? Anything, it could be a quote, it could be some advice that you had, like if there's anything that I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna share a couple, but I think this is not the first time you've talked or thought about assertiveness. Like it will have come up before in your career. So just head into chat, and just if there's anything for you that you thought, oh, that was a little nugget that has helped me. Oh, a book, Jen, a book, brilliant. If then, okay, yeah, Steve. So if then is one of the things that we talk about on the podcast this week. I think if then actually is such a useful just way of. We use that in time trade-offs and trade-ups. Like if I want to write a book, then I need more time. If I need more time, then I need to stop going to standing meetings. If I need to stop going to standing meetings, then we need to put more boundaries. Like if then can be used in so many ways to like work things through, and really clear in conversations too. Get coached by helping people to be more. I like that. If you kind of don't just focus on your assertiveness, focus on the assertiveness within the team that you're in, and then you create the climate for it. Interesting. Oh, role play situations. Ooh, I like that. Clear is kind. Yeah, that's interesting, Brittany. When I was thinking about clear as kind, I always think about radical candor as well. So that's Kim Scott's work, where she talks about when you're kind of giving feedback to people, you want to care personally about them and challenge directly. And I think that is like the clear as kind bit. I'm doing that because she has a quadrant. You know, I love a matrix. Worth looking at. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Being passive won't move you on. If it's not no. If it's not a mark, I'm getting myself all twisted on this. If it's not no, because it's yes if. I think I'm going to need to think on that one. I feel like there's a nice little memorable thing in there, but I think I might need to play it through. Brilliant. So lovely ideas here. I just wanted to talk about two that we share on the podcast. So one is adaptive assertiveness. So to your point around, you might in different situations and with different people behave differently. That's pretty normal. What we might want to do is recognizing that in some situations we can be quite aggressive, and that's a battle, so that's not going to work. And we might need to become more assertive. But in other situations, like a meeting that I'm a bit bored in, I might become quite passive. So understanding you'll be different with different people, but then always thinking about how you can be adaptively assertive. So how you can move from passive to assertive or aggressive to assertive. So for example, when you are if you ever see yourself getting a bit aggressive, look, I just want to get it done. I think this is the right way to do it. I think we should just get on with it. Like, what's the problem? Like, that's me being quite aggressive. If you spot that behavior in yourself, the best thing that you could do to be adaptively assertive is to flip into curiosity. But that's just my perspective. What do you think? Like, I think it would be just recognizing that you are being a bit too push in that situation, and then think, okay, how can I pull a bit of insight from them? So at any time you are falling into aggressive, flip into curiosity, just move into questions about that person. Just avoid the why. Okay, because if you've gone from aggressive and you use why, it will trigger defensiveness. So if I go, I just think we should do it this way, it's the best way we should do it, I've done it before, we should just repeat it, why would that be a problem? Suddenly that's not a curious question, that's a loaded question. So think about what's your perspective, I'd love to understand, would be a good response. If you are passive, if you know there's a meeting where, for me, for example, I might get a bit bored and be like, yeah. Or where it might be a high conflict situation for Sarah, she knows there's going to be a bit of conflict. Best thing to do is go prepare with your points in mind. Like have like 3 points down on a bit of paper. Always think when you do this virtually, it's quite good because no one can see your points. So they don't need to know that you've got a post-it note on your screen that says, what matters to me is that I work from home on a Friday. Like you can just have your point on your screen and they don't need to know, but you can just think if that is all I say, then that is enough to say, like, and it will be, just say your points with clarity and confidence. And, you know, you're not going to be passive, then you're still getting your point across. The third one is if you are flipping into, you know, passive aggressiveness, I think that the most important thing here, so this is where, you know, you're talking outside the room, you're being a bit moany, or you just feel like you're bottling it up in yourself. I think the thing here is to bring the bigger back, like make this situation bigger than the one that you're in right here and right now. So Sarah and I, if I'm being a bit passive aggressive, she's got a suggestion and I'm like, yeah, great one. then I might need to think, what is the bigger picture here? How do I have more meaning in this moment? Well, Sarah, I hope it's going to be my business partner for life, and I'm trying to make careers better for everyone. So me being passively aggressive probably isn't the best behavior for me to do if that is what I'm trying to achieve. So I've got to make it bigger than a meeting that I'm getting a bit annoyed in. And so if you can bring the bigger back, it can sometimes help you reframe, like, why do I need to engage? Why do I need to share my views? Why do I need to hear Sarah's views? That sort of thing. So have a think about that adaptive assertiveness as a way of kind of moving forward. And then the last thing that I would say is about, we talk about this in the podcast, prepare your point of view. So if you want to be assertive, proactively thinking about what is my point of view on this situation. And so I would say, just out of interest, what profession are you all in? Just really, really quickly, like, are you marketing? Are you finance? Are you learning and development? Just head into chit chat. Let's just see. I know we've got like 1 minute left. I'll do this quickly. Software product manager. I mean, isn't this interesting? What a brilliant community you are. Look at this. Look at this. That is why we are together. Look at this diversity. It's amazing. I was like, is there a theme? No. I am just going to pick, which one am I going to pick? Okay, I'm going to pick, okay, let's pick digital, Jen, because you're the last one that just popped up. What is the biggest thing going on at digital at the moment? I mean, metaverse, is that digital? I guess that I kind of like, okay, AI, brilliant. Digital, artificial intelligence. What we want to do is take your profession, do what's going on in it at the moment, so the metaverse, artificial intelligence, all that kind of stuff, and then think about, what is my point of view on this? There are definitely going to be conversations happening about that stuff. You're just getting ahead of them by doing this. So think about, okay, artificial intelligence, is it a danger to the future of humankind, or is it quite an efficient tool that's going to make us all happier? I don't know, but what do you think? At some point in your conversations at work, it's going to come up, and you can be assertive and say, one of the things that I've been thinking about here is how it could help us to connect the customer and the company. I don't know, but that's the point. You would proactively have a point of view, and that helps you to be assertive. So it might be worth 10 minutes of effort of going, what is one of the big themes around my profession or my industry at the moment, and what do I think about it? And then if you can bring that into conversations, assertively sharing your point of view is a really positive thing to do, and it's quite a good conversation sparker as well. So I think of the ideas for action that I would suggest you take away, I probably would take those. Who are the 5 people I spend the most time with, and how does my assertiveness, the balance, the battle, the boundaryless, and the bottling, how does that show up with those different people, and why might that be different? Because that will give you some insights into, you know, what's causing you to behave differently. I think about whether adaptive assertiveness could help you, and then I'd also do this proactive point of view, and if you can do that, I think you'll have more self-awareness and a bit more control of your assertiveness at work. So we are at the end of time now. I'm ever so sorry screen sharing wouldn't work. I hope the concept has still come across, and maybe what I'll do, because I've drawn it all for you, like this is my little template for preparing your point of view. Maybe what we'll do is I will share this with you on email, the podcast email that comes out. I'll just share these like things with you. I don't know how useful it'll be, but it's a picture of a light bulb. But there's some reflective questions in there that might help you, or if you want to take this forward in your team, you can use it. So I'll put it as a PDF in the email that gets sent out, and you'll have that. Fingers crossed, drawing is back next week. I mean, I hope it is, for the fact that I've got 4 sessions where I need to draw today. Fingers crossed, everybody. But hope you have a good week, and we'll see you all next week. Oh, next week as well, day before my birthday. Just saying. Anyone wants to wear like a party hat and have a cake? All good. I'm sort of joking-ish. Anyway, see you next week, everybody. Have a good week in between here and now. Bye, everyone. Bye. Take care.